So thank you very much for finding time to join us in this very important session. Everyone is talking about partnerships between utilities, but we know that municipalities play a critical role in these partnerships, not just as the public institutions that own some of these utilities, whether partly or fully, but also because municipalities are themselves service providers. So how do we leverage on the partnerships at the municipal level? And let us be clear on one thing, that the way that we plan and deliver water and sanitation services is not just a technical issue. It's not just an engineering issue. It is also a question of equity, as we have heard in most of the sessions since the start of this Congress. It is about resilience and climate action, but even more importantly, it is about the dignity of the people that we serve. So we all know the statistics about the people who still lack services, but we also know that they are so much in terms of the risk to their lives, particularly opportunities for inclusive growth that is slipping away all the time. So the focus on the people is very important. One thing that is also clear is that communities are urbanizing rapidly, but our infrastructure systems and our governance systems are not, keeping pace with this kind of growth. And we know that if we continue with business as usual, the cost that is going to be borne by those living in slums, those in informal settlements, in peri-urban areas, in rural neighborhoods, and in also climate fragile geographies are at risk. So in this session, we want to change this trajectory. We want to talk about partnerships between people or governments that are closest to the people, municipalities. We want to see how to build institutional muscle between municipalities and how to use urban and territorial planning as strategic tools for transformation. We want to see how we can collaborate, not just for sharing knowledge and learning from each other, but building peer-to-peer accountability between municipalities and how to drive systematic change with this kind of partnerships. So let us begin with a framing. With a Mentimeter, yeah? We start with a Mentimeter? A Mentimeter poll. Yeah. Good. Okay. So let's take this in plenary, and just respond, and this is a good opportunity to also have our audience speak before our speakers come in. So this is a good way of doing it. So how well do cities in your region integrate sanitation, water, and solid waste planning? How well do cities in your region integrate sanitation, water, and solid waste planning? You will not hear much about solid waste management in this Congress because water experts like talking to each other. But we know the critical importance of thinking about solid waste management when you are talking about water resources management. A lot of pollution that we experience in our water sources come from poorly managed solid waste. And I have heard in this Congress the call to think beyond water, the call to go beyond the sector and talk to a number of other sectors. So some quick responses. We only have a few minutes, I think 5 minutes for this engagement. Some inspiring words before our speakers come in. Any hand to start? Yes, please. There is, yeah, you can introduce yourself and yeah, please, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Jutta from Border. Border is an NGO that works a lot in decentralized sanitation solutions. And we always try to bring solid waste in our projects because we saw, especially in fecal sludge, that there is a high percentage of fecal sludge of solid waste in the fecal sludge. An example is Zambia. In some of our projects, we had up to 30% solid waste in the fecal sludge. So we always were basically saying, please bring that elements together, water, sanitation, solid waste, that should not be separated. It's one aspect in planning for a city. And in all our projects, we always look also in awareness for solid waste, in solution for solid waste. So actually, since 20 years, we are doing that. And sometimes we have to convince the donors to accept that we would also like to do in solid waste something. But thanks to the BMZ that supports us, we can do that. So yeah, that's why we why we implement it. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. I think that is a very good point because you know there is a lot of frustration in the planning department in local governments when you go with water and sanitation, and then 2 years later someone else comes with solid waste management, and then another 2 years someone comes with roads, and someone comes with energy, and you are the same planning department doing this. So how integrated can we be, considering that the responsibility for delivery of these services rests with the local government? We want to advance this debate a little more in this framing. So let me invite in front here, she's already in front, but let me introduce our framing expert. Pina Kaglin is an expert in urban development and municipal partnerships. Actually, she's my colleague at UN Habitat with extensive experience in integrated planning and capacity development. She has worked on advancing inclusive and resilient urban services, focusing on collaborative governance and institutional strengthening across geographies. Pina, feel free to speak from there or here. Yeah. Yeah, good, great.
Thank you very much, Pierre, and welcome again, everyone. My name is Pinar. I'm an urban planner. I support a WOPA program, but before joining the WOPA program, I worked for the planning, finance, and economic section of UN Habitat for 7 years. So I would like to present to you a few examples of UN Habitat, how we are supporting the municipal partnerships in the cities that we are working. I would like to start with the key messages of this session, what I would like to also highlight in my presentation. The challenges that we face today, such as aging infrastructure, climate change, rapid urbanization, and urban inequalities, socioeconomic inequalities in the cities, they are too complex to be addressed by utilities alone. So not one utility alone can solve all these complex problems in the cities. And it is crucial to look at this water, sanitation, solid waste, and also all other service provision in the municipalities in an integrated manner as basic services. I would like to include this also the social facilities, not only the utility infrastructure, but also the education, health, and the cultural and the public space services also in an integrated manner. I would like to give you a couple of examples about this. And city authorities need to ensure that all basic services are integrated into the broader urban development plans. Whether this is a regional connectivity, regional territorial plans, or citywide plans, or the neighborhood plans, all these service provision issues should be integrated into these plans. And ambitious visions cannot be achieved through siloed sectoral investments. So I also would like to touch upon the investment issue after the planning, how it works, how we move towards the implementation after the planning, and how all the municipal departments should come together also for this, like the investment decision making in a collaborative way to implement and projects and transform the urban spaces. So this is why in UN Habitat, when we say planning, we promote integrated spatial planning, integrated urban planning, and integrated investment planning. And we see this as a tool for the partnership, because this creates a dialogue between different departments, different service providers in the municipalities. This integrated approach is a key for making cities more resilient, more green, more sustainable, and more inclusive. What is an integrated spatial planning in UN Habitat? How do we define this like an integrated spatial planning? So instead of the conventional way of urban planning, like having the transport master plan, housing master plan, and then the land use plans, we try to look at everything in an integrated manner. How do we do that? Instead of only like focusing on the land uses, for example, we try to put some goals for the city. So what is the goal of that city? Is the city wants to be more like the connected, so improve the connectivity, or if the city wants to be more resilient or vibrant or inclusive, or all of them, and most probably all of them, they want to achieve all of those, but how? So in every scale, like the neighborhood, streets, public space, or even the building like scale, you can integrate all these like layers of different services in the cities and do your understanding of the city and the planning of the city in this perspective. So instead of only looking at the transport infrastructure, overlay transport and the population and the socioeconomic conditions and the public spaces and see how the city is functioning within all these different service provisions. So the phases are, yes, we look at all the existing condition, existing plans and ambitions of the cities, and then we try to identify the needs and the deficits and the gaps, service gaps in the cities in all sectors together. And then we try to develop some responses to that, like how the cities can overcome these like challenges that we identify, how they fulfill the gaps. And then we identify the projects. These are the actions. This is like a basic, like the urban planning process that we are following internationally. And then the prioritization part comes for the implementation. So just to give some example, for example, in the like water and sanitation sector, how do we do it? So we try to do a lot of consultations, not only with the water department, but all departments in all subjects, because different departments can give different perspective related to other issues in the cities. But also we do lots of community engagements. So from the citizen inhabitants, you gather a lot of information, and then we try to map them. Mapping is the specialization, because once you listen, you understand the problem, but where is the problem exactly, then you need to map them. And so you can map all the water supply network and the capacity issues and the condition issues and the materials and the network coverages, and if there are any hazards related to it, for example, the landslides or the flooding areas, etc. And then it is not only looking at today's condition in the cities, but planning is for the future. So you need to also understand like the future population dynamics in the cities, how it works, like where in the city is becoming like more attractive, where urban planners are promoting the densification or regeneration areas in the cities. And then you compare it with your like network. This can be in two ways actually. If a network capacity is good in one location, there needs to be a very good communication with the service provider and the urban planning department in the city, so the urban planner can use this like a good capacity for the future population in the city. Or it can be the other way. Urban planners can inform the service providers that this is the vision of the city. In these areas, we are planning to increase the household numbers. So the service providers knows it and they do their plan accordingly. This is like a very important point. And then we define all these issues related to the waters, the sewage system, like if there's no coverage and reliance on the septic tanks in smaller municipalities. And what about the solid waste issues, like about the landfill, the solid waste collection points in the neighborhoods, and also the energy, electricity, how it is provided, and where are the challenges, if the infrastructure resilient enough during the hazards and disasters, and what is the coping mechanism of a coordinated manner in all these, like the service provisions. And then we suggest some improvements in the utility infrastructure within the capability of the city and within the capability of that scale of the city, and related to the irrigation, water, waste, sewage, and everything. And then at the end, you have a strategic plan. So this is the regular urban planning process that we are promoting in UN Habitat, working with different municipal departments. When you have this strategic special plan, it doesn't end here, because the real challenge starts after this. Like, how do you implement it? Because you have a limited budget. You cannot implement everything that we see in the plan. Plan is like super ambitious. It's like a dream for the city, right? And it's impossible to implement everything, especially in the global south where there is like budget issues. But then, which one to choose? Which project will you choose to implement? That is the real question. And that is the tricky part when you work, when you bring different municipal departments together, because they are competing with each other. Are we going to extend the water network, or are we going to extend the capacity of the water treatment, or are we going to extend the capacity of landfill, or are we renovating the schools or public spaces? So which one we are implementing? This is like a really challenge, and they are competing with each other. So, but what we are saying that this process, even if it is like challenging, it also creates a platform for dialogue between the different municipal departments, because this is what we see usually. Like when we go to the city, we understand that there is no communication at all between different departments. And this is very crucial for the decision making, actually. So we developed this like a methodologies. We call it like the area-based infrastructure investment planning, or capital investment plan, which is like a more well-known terminology, I think, for this. But what we are trying to do is that this, like the capital investment plan, shouldn't be only from a financial perspective, but it should also include the real needs of the cities and inhabitants, and so that we need to involve different municipal departments in this investment planning process. So you have your strategic plan, and then you list your actions. You need to prioritize. So there needs to be evidence-based a decision-making and prioritization process to choose which projects you can implement in that budget year in the city. And then you need to, after the prioritization, still your budget envelope is limited, so you need to see which projects can fit in your budget envelope. And this is the overall process, is the area-based development program. At the end, you get this the investment cards, investment plan. So this is just an example, you list everything. It is your actions, every little detail of project coming from different service providers are in this list. And then you do a multi-criteria assessment for this, the prioritization. Prioritization is very tricky. So you need to include, yes, the service deficits, so the gaps in the service provision, but also, as I said, the plan, what is the vision of the city? What is the strategic plan, special plan of the city? You need to take into consideration this one. And then the community impact. This is usually a process that skip in the cities that we work. And we are trying to ensure that the beneficiaries and the consultation with the beneficiaries is done. And this can also be included in this multi-criteria assessment when you select the project. This is very crucial for us as UN Habitat to promote. And then the financial sustainability, of course. What is the revenue base, like the income generation from this the project? This is also an important matter for the municipality, for the sustainability of the project, of course. So how does it look at the end after we do all this, the multi-criteria assessment, the heat map that you see? So you see in the city, there are some places where the projects score much higher. It means that they are more important for the city, for the plan, for the deficits, and for the community, and for the financial sustainability. Then you see exactly where you need to focus in your city, especially where you need to focus. I'm not talking about the thematic area to focus, but especially where to focus. And in that focus, when you zoom in, then you can collaborate with different service providers to work in that specific area. So if they are expanding their network, first expand your network in that particular area, because the city will develop there. Or city will regenerate there. So this communication is crucial between different departments. And so you can develop your plans, detailed plans, designs accordingly, and involve in this process all the service providers. And at the end, you have an investment card. Yes, just coming to the last slides. An investment card, you have all the projects and the score and the cost estimate and the beneficiary number, phasing, time frame of it, and everything. So this is also a way to attract investments in many cities that we work. After having this area-based development program and the investment cards, even in the city, many private sector, they involved in the process because they wanted to invest, because this is evidence-based. So they see that it is not a politician's idea coming from nowhere, but it is coming from in-depth the analysis and evidences and the data. So they are willing to invest. This is also another way to attract this capital to improve the service provision. And at the end, you just list all of them. And this is an interesting dialogue between the service providers, because all the projects, all the bars represent a project here with different costs and different scores, and they are competing with each other. So in the same room, creating this dialogue and to show everyone in an evidence-based manner, which project is more priority, and then how do you decide which one to implement within that budget year. This is a much easier decision-making also for the management and the mayors and all the politicians in the city, different departments. And so we are saying that this is the way you involve different service providers in the city, and this is the way you can actually transform and regenerate your cities for a more sustainable future in UN Habitat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pina, for those framing statements. I think very important statements going into what we call a fireside chat. And if we were in Africa, we would be around a fireplace. And we will be having this conversation in a very warm place. But the issues here really is that we look at a broader development plan of a city, so that not every service that comes and sometimes does not fit in your goal is something that you want to work with. So the fact that you have a goal set for the city and that you have layers of different services overlaid in a city, and then you move from planning to implementation, understanding the city needs, but also involving the local communities. Consultations with all departments in different service areas, very important. And to see that which projects will deliver your development strategy better, a platform for dialogue between different departments. So prioritizing investments based on the vision of the city and also thinking about community impact. Very important. So let's start with Prashant. Prashant, you have been introduced a lot in this Congress, and I don't want to go into the long CV here, but most of Prashant's work has been with the Odisha Water Supply and Sewerage Board. And I want to ask you a very simple question, but that question will really help us to move this conversation forward. You have worked with municipalities and utilities for a long time now, and you have seen this role of local governments evolving in planning, you know. So what do you think has, helped local governments to lead more effectively in the role of planning and in overseeing sanitation services?
Thank you, Pire, for having me here. Uh, Ultimately, the services that is being provided by the local government, it rests with them. And we, from the utility side, we need to empower them, we need to capacitate them so that they function better. From my experience, I can share about the sanitation, the journey of sanitation in Odisha. It's in the coastal part of east part of India. 40 million inhabitants. Out of that, 8 million inhabitants live in urban areas. 115 towns and cities. So there are small cities and large cities. Small cities means less than 100,000, 50,000 and all. The large cities are, from 300,000 up to 12,000. 300,000 to 1.2 million. So, what we found in local government is the lack of capacity in dealing with the situation, dealing with the problem. Usually they are dealing with solid waste, that is their core competency, and also the drainage, surface water drainage, storm water drainages. But when it comes to sewerage and sanitation, their services are basically confined to providing dislodging services to the citizens. And in Odisha, prior to 2015, we didn't have lots of treatment systems. So the challenge became, because of the court orders, we have the National Green Tribunal. The challenge became, how do you provide systems where the fecal sludge from the on-site systems can be treated? How do we provide sewer sanitation? As a matter of policy, in Odisha, we decided that the cities, the large cities would have sewer sanitation, and the smaller ones, because a lot of challenges, technical challenges and social challenges, would have non-sewer sanitations. So, I belong to the utility Odisha Water Supply and Sewerage Board. My role was, we were building sewerage infrastructure. We are good in that, planning, designing and doing that. So as utility at the state headquarters, we are driving these infrastructure projects, building them and providing all those services. So when it comes to providing the non-sewer sanitation solutions, we thought we can do it in partnership with the local government. Let's say if we build ourselves and transfer the same to the local government, then they won't be able to maintain them or operate them, and they won't have any incentive to do that. Then we decided how to partner so that they have a stake in that. So therefore, right from the planning stage, we started involving the local government. So then they become the owner of the entire fecal sludge value chain. So first is that for any services you need to build infrastructure. In this case, the treatment systems, and for that you need land. And now, how do you get the land? Land, is very difficult to though we are a very populous country, to get land is also very scarce. It's very difficult. And for especially for projects like any sewage project, a fecal sludge treatment plant or a sewage treatment plant, getting land is really difficult. Then you have to do a lot of talking with the local government, and then you have a lot of conditionalities. So you have to follow the pollution control board norms where you need. So ideally, where do you get the land, and then that land won't be available. We found lot of lands are there with the local government, with the municipalities as dump sites. So they used to do the solid waste management, infrastructure, and mostly it used to be dumped. And currently we are doing a lot of dump site remediations. So a lot of land was locked. So we partnered with them. We told them, look, this is the current scenario. We have been doing a lot of great work in making the cities open defecation free, providing toilets for all the households. But the next step is that you need to build treatment systems, and we are there to help you in building them. But for that we need land, and you have to provide that land. So that is how they saw the real benefit. Then we told them that you have land in your dump sites, so remediate them and get that land free. And we got land. Then we provided technical assistance. So from utility side, we are good in building the good in planning and designing infrastructures. But in this case, we asked the local government, we supported them to build that infrastructure. So they signed the contract with the agencies, and we supported them in quality control and supervision and all that kind of thing. So they saw these infrastructure coming up. We supported them in providing cesspool operators, cesspool vehicles, and also asked them that what else you need. How do you have the capability to provide the services? Then we also went a step ahead by digitalizing the dislodging services. So we were the pioneer in that. We did a lot of partnership with our very good partners available in the country. So we created a platform, a digital platform, trained the municipal functionaries how to use the platform. And another interesting part of that sanitation journey is that all the plants that were built by them with our support, they are operated and maintained by the community partners. So we involved the women self-help groups. We have the cadre of self-help groups. Basically, they are women. They are involved in various activities. So we asked the local governments, why don't you partner with them, train them, so that they will be able to operate and maintain the plants very effectively. And these plants were not mechanized systems, so they are all nature-based systems. So it became very easy for these women self-help group people, and also not only women, we also involve the transgender community to also operate the plants. So that became a talk of the town. When it was successful in few cities, then it was scaled to we saturated the entire 115 towns and cities. Even in the cities wherever we had this sewerage system, we provided also the fecal sludge systems, because it's very difficult to cover the entire city with sewage solution. So in those places also we provided off-grid or non-sewage sanitation solutions, providing dislodging services and all. So in a sense, we provided infrastructure, we trained the self-help group women in operating and maintaining, creating the systems, and created a digital platform where the services provided by the local government to the citizens are mapped, and then we are able to monitor everything. So at the state headquarters, we are able to see how they are functioning. So we developed also the KPIs for them to understand their roles and responsibilities, to assess their own performance. So that way, uh, the utility, the Odisha Water Supply and Sewerage Board, was able to partner with local government and help them achieve the sanitation goals.
No, thank you very much, Prasanta. I think the Odisha sanitation journey is well documented. I just want to ask one more question. What do you think made the municipality lead effectively? Apart from all this success that you have achieved, some success factors that drove the process, maybe one or two.
See, this entire journey, we are successful because of good partnership. So when your intentions are good, when your objectives are very clear, you will always find partners. They will be reaching out to you to help you in many aspects. Uh, we are not experts in everything. For instance, training the, let's say, the local self-help groups. We are not trainers. We are not good in training. But then there are, partners who came and they trained them. So I will say the critical success factor is partnership, and the second one is leadership. So in our case, the leadership was available at the political level. We had a very stable government. The state government, at one point it lasted for 24 years. So one is the stable government, very proactive, citizen-friendly government. Then the leadership provided at the bureaucratic level, the leadership provided at the technical level. So and also uh, because of people remain aligned at all the levels, so it was very easy for us to reach out to the local government and to drive the vision, and everybody remain aligned to the vision. So when the vision is to serve the public and uh, to fill the gap, to fill the deficiencies. So in our case, funding was never a problem. So therefore, the only challenge is to, deal with other issues. So if you have finance issues, then you are bogged down with everything. If you don't have that, then it becomes, to solve your other challenges.
No, thank you very much, Prasanta. These are the issues that we want to really highlight in this session. How does success look like at the municipal level? The partnerships that you're talking about are very critical because we want to see not just what you can do alone, but appreciating some of the gaps that you have that could be filled by partnerships, like the training of self-help groups that you are mentioning. I want to break the tradition and give the audience one chance for a quick fire with Prasanta, now that you have him here on stage. I don't want a situation where we close the workshop with only the speakers. Please, introduce yourself and ask the question.
Uh, Good morning, everybody. I am Buddha Singh, PSI campaign coordinator, and I work in South Asia. So thank you very much, Brother Prasanta, for a very wonderful presentation. And the initiatives you have taken is very, very good, no doubt. So I'm concerned with actually the like protection of the core labor standards or labor rights in your success story. So in your success story, uh, do you also ensure the minimum protection of labor rights as well as the decent work status and also the inclusion of workers' representation and participation in your policy framing and implementation?
Yeah, this is very, very nice and very important question. Uh, we have a, act at the, national level, that protects the, you call it manual scavengers. People doing the dislodging work, entering into the septic tanks or the manholes in sewer lines. Uh, so by this act, this has been abolished. We don't call manholes now; we call them machine holes, because we are now not allowed to, allow man to enter there. Now, Odisha, in the country, it was the forerunner in non-sewer sanitation. In this area also, it also created a policy that became a path breaker, and later on that policy was implemented nationally. So we call it garima, or giving the dignity to the people who are involved in sanitation work. So we have a lot of social safety aspects linked. So what we did initially, we commissioned a survey in all these cities and towns, because these people, the sanitation workers, are always hidden. Nobody knows who are they. So they were all, like groundwater is hidden inside. So these people are always hidden. So when you have a service, they will come out. But you never know where they are staying and who are they and how many sanitation workers are there in the cities. So we commissioned this survey, again with the help of some partners, third party, not government agencies. And we realized that the number we estimated initially, that number is, when we did the actual enumeration, they are quite big. And then we also did the survey of their families, what they are doing, what their children are doing. So once we had all these numbers, then we were able to design the social security net. And we have lot of social services, because of the act. Only you have to link one with the other. And also during at the occupation level also, we have all those safety equipments and those um, drives and sensitization workups. So for the last 5 years, that was done very extensively, and as a result of good policy and you know good solution, that was in fact replicated at the national level. So whatever we drafted and implemented in the state level, it was very useful for them. So we stated that as garima in my language, means providing dignity, and that was given the name as namaste. Namaste means this. So that was the impact of our work.
No, thank you very much. I think we have done well, but we have speakers online, and I don't want to keep them waiting. So let's go to Dhruv Mehta, who is the team lead at DASTRA and also works closely with the National Fecal Sludge and Septage Management, the NFSSM. Let us continue this discussion, Meta, if you are listening to us, on the critical enablers that allow municipalities to drive and sustain these partnerships. So some 2 or 3 critical enablers, and then I will open the floor for a question or two.
Perfect. Thanks, Pire. Good morning to everybody. My name is Dhruv, and I represent DASRA, which is an organization based in Mumbai, India. It is a strategic philanthropy organization that also works on building fields and ecosystems, one of them being urban sanitation. And as DASRA, we are the secretariat or the backbone organization for an alliance called National Fecal Sludge and Septage Management Alliance in India. Now, Pire, Pinar, and Prashanta sir have also raised some very relevant points, and I'll add on to that as well. So, this alliance is a collaborative body of 35 plus sector experts and organizations that are working towards accelerating inclusive sanitation outcomes in India. And we're also working very closely as a network with different alliances in South and Southeast Asia as well that are working towards the same goal. Now, through this platform, we also have different organizations that have varied thematic expertise, whether it is capacity building, or it is data and monitoring systems, or it is standardization of infrastructure. And we've been able to work with city and state governments through our partners and actually take the position of advisors and technical advisors with different state governments and municipalities as well. Now, over this engagement, we've realized that there are key enablers that have driven and sustained regional partnerships and collaborations that we're talking about in today's discussion. A lot of them have been also discussed by my fellow panelists, but I'll just add on. I think the first one, which we've seen, is intent and institutional ownership. Now, when we speak about regional collaboration, it is sustained when municipalities are viewing these not only as compliances, but as a strategic lever to strengthen service delivery. And in that way, collaboration therefore becomes embedded in the institutional fabric. Now, for example, as an alliance, we work with different municipalities. Say, for example, Prashanta sir was talking about Odisha. We are working with a state chapter, which we call the Odisha state chapter, that has got different stakeholders, whether it's civil society organizations or the Housing and Urban Development Department and different municipalities that come together to discuss what that agenda would be that we're working towards, what are the gaps on the ground, and how can we work collectively towards that. Also, for example, if you take the South Asia landscape, and we have Nepal that comes together with different municipal networks that come together to discuss what are the different indicators for monitoring and evaluation as well. So I think the intent and institutional ownership has really worked well for us in the last 5+ years. The second, which is very important, is knowledge sharing and learning platforms. Now, we anchor the NFSSM Alliance. A fellow colleague Nereen also is on this call that anchors the Pathan Collective that she will speak about. And these play a very big catalytical role to enable peer learning and contextualizing what are those technical innovations and approaches that can be scaled and replicated. Now, for example, we bring together different partners, whether municipalities, state government, even national government stakeholders and practitioners at a South Asia regional network to share what have been their learnings, what have been their challenges, what have been their failures. And this has also been very well lauded by different municipalities to see that there have been learnings through these continuous interactions and dialogues for them to take it back to their own geography and contextualize it as well. Now we have partners that are also there for working continuous capacity building, development, and learning. And therefore, this enables the recognition of certain municipal champions, but also helps to maintain the momentum. So the institution memory remains even amidst leadership changes as well. So these are two of the enablers that have really helped us. Uh, Entrepreneur networks that you've spoken about in terms of exposure visits, the inclusive sanitation learning agenda has really worked well and has proven to be a strong enabler. And we continue working towards that with all of our partners at TAC.
Dhruv, sorry for interrupting you, but I want you to also interact with the audience. So let me open the floor. You have had the two critical enablers that Dhruv has highlighted. Partnership not just for compliance, but as a strategic lever and knowledge sharing and learning hubs. Any follow-up question from the audience for Dhruv? Are we satisfied with this response? Some emphasis from the floor? Yes, please. You can introduce yourself.
My name is Francesca Gambazzi. I'm from the municipality and water operator of the city of Lausanne in Switzerland. And so we are together. I represent both. And my question is, in the knowledge sharing, who's leading the process? Because I cannot have all the head of departments there every time. So who, in your case, would be somehow the governance leader of this knowledge sharing?
Dhruv, 1 minute,
Thank you.
please. Just
Yeah.
1 minute. Yep. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much for that question. I think this is a collaborative effort, right, Francesco? Here, while we are leading that learning agenda, we work very collaboratively with our partners in this journey. Now, for example, it's a three-lever approach. One is the curation of knowledge. And through our alliance partners, which has diverse sector experts, we create knowledge across different thematic areas, whether it's sanitation, worker safety, and dignity, whether it is data monitoring systems. And these are actually curated for the municipalities and for stakeholders, so that it can be very palatable for them to see what are those toolkits and frameworks to contextualize this. Now, how do we interact with them? A lot of the partners that are working in the alliance work very closely on a one-on-one basis with the state governments and with the municipalities. So we leverage our partners to interact with them, to take this knowledge for them, and also bringing this knowledge together in the form of peer-to-peer networks. So we have different cohorts at a state level, at a urban local body level, where we enable peer-to-peer networks through the form of exposure visits. So for example, a Sikkim state in the northeast has also interacted with Odisha, where both also have a challenge of climate vulnerability. And then they interact to see, okay, what has been the impact on the ground, some live demonstration sites, what have been the successes, what have been the failures. So to answer your question, who leads this? Essentially, our target stakeholders are the municipalities. Dasra as a sector or a systems orchestrator leads the entire process with our alliance partners to bring in the diverse sectoral expertise here in the form of knowledge and peer-to-peer.
No, thank you very much, Dhruv. And let's now get to Dr. Marin Mato. Marin, I hope that you can hear us clearly. So Marin leads the sanitation capacity building platform at the National Institute of Urban Affairs. And I want us to continue with the same conversation, Marin, and look at what capacities do municipalities most urgently need to play a governance and oversight role in integrated service delivery. Maureen, if you can hear us, 2 minutes, and then I will give the floor to the audience to interact with you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Perfect. First of all, thank you so much to the organizers, UN Habitat, for having me here, and to the UN fellows, Pere and Pina, for laying the context. And Mahapatra sir, you always have been dynamic, and through hats off. Just to bring more with regard to the context, that as we are approaching towards World Toilet Day, there are about 3.6 million people who lack the basic sanitation services. And as rightly context, that resilience, equity, dignity is something we need to look into. So I represent National Institute of Urban Affairs, which is an apex body of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, working at city, state, and national level. And one thing which clearly is the need of the hour is the capacities, to strengthen the capacities of the municipal functionaries. As part of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, we have the Clean India movement, which is called Swachh Bharat Mission, which has been a revolution across the region with regard to providing safe sanitation and waste management. So in that capacity, NIUA is also a knowledge management unit, where it becomes very essential and based on the need which we have found, how to capacitate the 4,900 urban local bodies in India. And for that, it cannot be an ad hoc process. We need to understand that we need to create the pool of trainers at national and state level and understand the demand from the utilities. And for that, we did a rigorous training need assessment for what they need. Is it with regard to procurement? Is it with regard to providing the hands-on on a detailed project report, which the municipalities should know about? Because over the time, we have moved from hardcore technical to more social aspects. So is there a need to understand the safety of the sewer cleaners, or is it important to understand what is the need for an aspiration toilet which can be used by various stakeholders, including people with disability? And also one more thing, which so it's we think that capacity building is something which is easy to do, but but it requires a lot of planning. And in order to capacitate, what is the relevant content? What is the demand coming from the states, cities, and when we do capacity building, it's not only with regard to the municipal functionaries, but how do we ensure that the relevant stakeholders, so the community, the resident welfare association, the elected representatives of the utilities are there, because they are the ones who will drive the whole notion towards equitable sanitation per se. Yeah,
Marin, yeah,
I will say.
yes, I know that you have a lot of experience in this area, but I want to open up the floor, because one thing that you have mentioned, which I find very useful, is that you have moved from this hardcore technical stuff to human stuff, because we develop infrastructure for humans, you know, and it really changes the way we think about capacity development. So we're not thinking about infrastructure development alone. We are thinking about building capacities for human impact. Yeah. So let us follow up from the floor. Yes, please.
Yes, good morning. I'm Daria Cibradio from Public Services International, PSI, like the colleague who already spoke. I want to bring back again the issue of labor, because as we've heard from the distinguished panel, a lot of important indications and experience sharing on how we integrate the utilities so that they can be effective and resilient and serve our people. The missing element is often labor. So the workers are those who implement the local government policies. It is those who deliver the utility services, be them water, sanitation, or waste management. But ultimately, they are the experts in service provision. So when I hear the panel mentioning the stakeholders, but we never hear about a methodology for a meaningful involvement of the professionals who do this work. Be them also informal, formal, semi-formal, depends a lot on the different countries, and also on the trade unions. It's not just by a survey that you assess the training needs, it's by engaging meaningfully in social dialogue with their representative organizations, which deal with them daily and know exactly what the population needs, what are the staffing levels, what are the occupational health and safety issues that come up, the biological risks, and so on and so forth. So I think that as a global union representing workers in local government, but also in utilities, we really would like to make a call, including to UN Habitat, that that you start a culture of meaningfully engaging with your trade unions that are in utilities, because they're the experts of that service delivery. And then the dialogue between the local administration and those who are on the ground can be transformative. One, if I may, I will conclude.
Yes, please.
Sir, you said something very important in your opening, which is that water people like to talk about water. But let me tell you, having worked and engaged very extensively in the plastic waste treaty, which I'm sure many of you know failed dramatically in Geneva in August, waste management people like to talk about waste alone. Nobody was there except us to tell them, look, you want to cut plastic waste, the first thing you need to do is to provide water and sanitation systems that are safe for the people. And you cannot rely on an army of informal waste pickers. You need proper waste management systems with workers in formal, decent work. Thank you so much, and good luck with all the good work.
This is the kind of conversation I was looking towards coming to this session. Over to you, Maureen.
Pere, I completely resonate what she mentioned about. And At the ministry, we have a lot of discussion, and which even Mahapatra sir mentioned about the sanitation workers' welfare. Because if you remember COVID times, these were the front runners who made a lot of impact with regard to the whole notion of sanitation, clean sanitation during COVID. And on that basis, a lot of guidelines have been also being laid, and even a lot of studies. For example, if I talk about NIUA, we are doing a study with regard to the welfare of rag pickers and sanitation workers, both formal and informal, in one of the states of India, which is a hilly state, which is called Uttarakhand. We have taken two these cities, and the results are very like you really have not you really have to bring that facts onto the table and discuss not only with the utilities and with also with the state government, that how they can provide support not only to the ones who are the formal group but also the informal, but because in the end they are the ones who are keeping the city clean and also providing health benefit to all.
Marin, thank you very much. Any other follow-up from the floor? I don't want a situation where we speak from front and end the meeting. Any additions from the floor? Otherwise, we go to our next speaker. Okay, so let me introduce our next speaker. And this is an opportune time to do this because I've just consulted with my colleague Shobana about what to ask her so that we build on this conversation. So Frederique, is it Frederique? Yes, and for those who attended the mayor's reception yesterday, Frederique has two other names, and we want to call out all of them if you remember the conversation yesterday. So Bart Carpenter is the next name. 10 years of experience with GIZ in water and solid waste management. And I want you to link the solid waste management alongside sanitation services. What role do partnerships play in strengthening this integration of solid waste management alongside sanitation services?
So hello everybody, and thanks a lot for having me at this very interesting panel with my distinguished co-panelists. I'm very thrilled to be here today and tell you a little bit about our work as GIZ, German Development Corporation, in the domain of solid waste management. And also thrilled to engage on that question that's complex enough of integration of solid waste management and sanitation. But maybe a couple of words first only on solid waste management before we go into this integrational aspect of it. So what we are doing is, and that resonates with your question, the last audience question, where is actually this capacity building for the professionals? This is where, and also with what you said earlier on, you mentioned as success factors, leadership and partnership. So these are the aspects where our program comes in, because we work with professionals of solid waste management companies or municipalities and engage really in a peer-to-peer learning between professionals of municipalities in that sector. So we are trying to offer capacity development to the waste collectors, to the drivers of waste vehicles, to the person who organizes the procurement of waste vehicles, to the department leader who plans the tours where the vehicles go and collect the solid waste. And we are trying to enable them to exchange with professionals from Germany who are doing the equivalent job. So basically, all have come to this Congress because you're acquainted with the concept of water operator partnerships. So what we are offering next to water operator partnerships is solid waste management partnerships with our German municipal companies who have a long-standing experience in organizing waste collection, recycling, reduction. And we are trying to make this experience of about 70 years available to partner countries who want to learn from it, but also to question it in a way and help the German municipalities to learn as well from them. So that's what we've been doing, and as a responsible project manager in our GIZ for these kind of partnerships, I can relate some experience that we've made in a couple of different countries. So one of the first experience is that the setting is quite different, even though waste composition is different from country to country. So we find, for example, a much higher fraction of organic waste in certain African countries than in Europe, for example. So what do we do with that? How do we relate then our experience to a completely different setup? We have also learned that whereas in Germany the sector is organized with municipal companies, so utilities, which is very similar to what you know from the water sector, in our partner countries often this is not dealt with by ring-fenced municipal utilities. It's often dealt with by the municipality itself. So the concept of partnership has to adapt here because you're not always finding the exact peer equivalent. If you have a partnership between water operators, of course you have the director, you have the department leader, you have the sanitation workers, and in this way we have to be a bit more lean and more flexible with solid waste management partnerships. But our experience is that in the end the questions are kind of similar enough so that we can engage in a very fruitful conversation. And maybe I mentioned just in last learning before I leave the floor for questions. We have seen that, here, for example, in Germany, people who are in the municipal companies partly they remember 30 years back when they started their career, where our solid waste management sector was at. And they're trying to put themselves back to that position and try to remember how step for step they build up a better service. And that helps a lot because we are now in Germany at a very high-tech level with super vehicle parks and reaching the last mile, let's say, and making more circularity, bringing more circularity into the sector, whereas our partner countries struggle with very urgent sanitary issues that need to be dealt with immediately to safeguard health and so on. So we have found that starting with the organic waste fraction in most of our partnerships has been a central element. It's something that you can start with. It makes the household waste much cleaner. It avoids a lot of emissions, but also pollution of the groundwater or the surface water. And it's more accessible because it can be dealt with in a not very high-tech manner. So in a lot of partnerships, that has been a demand to start with that topic, and that we have made very good experience with that.
No,
I would have many things more to tell,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I know
yeah.
how
No, I
pressing
know, I
time
know,
is,
and you will have the opportunity
to have
when
your
we open the
Yes.
floor to Friederike. So, any comments from the floor? Any additions? I also want to ask of your experiences from the ground. Yes, please. The Slum Dwellers International.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to check, because at the community level, we also have come up with the idea of addressing the issues of solid waste and the creation of recycling of the solid waste. It's happening within the communities. How will GIZ extend the support of peer-to-peer learning and the capacity building to communities that are doing the recycling through solid waste management. Because now when I'm listening to you, you are working up until the municipal level. But now, because at the community level, that's where a lot of solid waste is happening. And then this idea of recycling, it's also addressing the issue of climate change, whereby we also want to get the capacity of how to utilize the recycled material to produce some of the products that can help the communities at the end of the day. Thank you.
Yeah, you're putting on the floor the very important question of the involvement of the private sector, or at least in Germany, the sector is organized in a way where collection and some parts of the treatment and the recycling is done by the municipal level, by the municipal company itself, but also a large part of, for example, incineration capacities or recycling capacities for the different waste streams, be it plastics or paper or glass or whatever, are not necessarily on the same municipal level. So because these plants they need a certain amount of quantity of material to be commercially viable. So basically, for example, there's about 30 incineration plants in Germany. So not one municipality has all the capacities in their municipality to deal with all their municipal waste. They're kind of sending it also further away to be recycled. And I completely hear you that it's useful to stay as close as possible to where the waste is produced, because it's also a resource and can be used as a resource locally. And GIZ is also proposing some approaches in many countries where we work with our partnerships. GIZ has also synergetic programs that try to strengthen local resource chains, and for example, creating something out of the waste that you have with community participation, creating green jobs by that. But let's say that's different. It's a different approach than us, because our program is basically focusing on strengthening the capacities of the municipal companies or municipalities to collect, sort, and hand over to recycling. That's where kind of we draw the line of what we offer as capacity building. But we are in close contact with our bilateral GIZ programs who could take it from there, let's say.
No, thank you very much. And we have been asking questions to the panelists, but I want to ask questions now to the audience. Because we have experiences from our cities. We have heard about the critical enablers, we have heard about success factors. What has worked in your city? How do we strengthen the capacity of municipalities through partnerships in your city? One or two, and then we have actually saved 10 minutes because of the innovation that we introduced, but let's keep the conversation going. Some one or two examples from your city. What has worked with your municipalities? Yes, please, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I think in most of the municipalities where we are working from, I'll give an example of South Africa, where we were able to work hand in hand with the municipality of eThekwini and the Cape Town municipality with our data collection. When we went to the informal settlements, identified the priority needs of the communities, and went back to the municipality to engage. So we did have the memorandum of agreement with the city of Cape Town, where the support was given through the data that we have collected. We were able to identify some of the informal settlements that were facing evictions. But after showing the data that we have collected and the priority needs like basic services, And then the strategy that we used about the replanning of the informal settlement through a reblocking program, the city of Cape Town started to understand and work hand in hand with us as an organization in South Africa. My organization is called Fed Up, Federation of the Urban and Rural Poor, where we made sure that we are doing things on the ground. Organizing communities is very important because it's where the municipalities start to listen and to engage. So data collection, savings that we are doing, empowering women has created a space where engagement continues to happen in different municipalities in different countries where we operate.
Thank you very much. Now I know that as an audience, you will not complain that you were not involved. So let me come back up here and also to Marin and Drove. Just 1 minute. Listening to the conversation that we have had today, Prasanta, starting with you, what do you think is the key action that you would recommend in strengthening partnerships at the municipality level?
I will, always advocate for, training and capacity building of the existing municipality. Maybe the chief executive or the engineer or the sanitation worker, whoever they are. So start with their capacity building. Then, as Marin mentioned, find out the, what is the capacity gap and what is the training needs. Then that is the way, you go ahead.
Thank you very much. And now that we have you here, just final word, and then I go to the online colleagues.
Yeah. So as Jay said, we are now supporting about 30 peer-to-peer partnerships in the water and solid waste management sector. And I guess our appeal would be to think about using these partnerships also when you have investments planned in infrastructure in the solid waste or in the water sector. It's an opportune moment to bring in operator knowledge, and I think it's a perfect moment to make the best out of peer-to-peer knowledge exchange.
Thank you very much. Marin, if you are still with us, your final thoughts, and then we go to
Very
Dhruv.
much. So I will resonate what others have said. I'm spot on with them, but I would add one more angle, that is a more human-centric approach, where we have all the stakeholders, the community, the formal, informal, the municipality on board. And also what the UN Habitat follows, a much more mentor-mentee approach, where a much nuanced city provides mentorship to a less advanced city. Yeah, that would be
Thank you very
a
much.
much more and one more, sorry, if
Yes,
I have
please.
the privilege to say, a much more integrated approach where we bring all the important municipal sectors into the foray, be it water, sanitation, drainage, solid waste, so that what we provide is more of a policy to practice approach.
Thank you very much. I think the integration is something that we have really emphasized in this meeting. Last word, Dhruv.
Thanks, Piri. I think everyone has covered it really beautifully, but I would urge as one action item, we continue the multi-stakeholder dialogues between everybody to actually enhance that learning and sharing. And also when we're talking about the municipal partnerships, keep them at the core of the work that you are doing with them, involve them in the decision making, share those ongoing insights with them, and also start looking at a lot of the institutional capability development with them on the basis of diverse expertise of different stakeholders to actually work on that collective action.
Thank you very much. And now I have 2 minutes to wrap up. This is a conversation that we must have in a GWOPA Congress, because we know that when you talk about WOPs and SWOPs, there is a lot that municipalities can contribute to this conversation. In fact, some of the mandates do not separate municipalities from utilities. So partnerships at the municipality level is going to be a very important conversation when we convene as a utilities congress. Very, very important. But I think even more importantly, and what I've also listened to in the previous sessions, is the human-centric, the human impact approach. We build these facilities for people, you know, and we need to focus on the dignity of the people as workers who manage these facilities, but also as consumers who use these facilities. Very important. And when you talk about capacity development, and I've seen it, I asked a very, something that sounded very silly at some point when a new approach came. And as a UN agency, we are expected to go out there and build the capacity of the community. But I asked, what about our own capacity? You know, before we go out there. So building capacity of professionals in some of these issues is very important. Build the capacity of the professional to help build the capacity of the communities. And with those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, we have 1 minute left. And thank you very much. And let us keep this conversation going. And let's meet in the next sessions. Thank you.